In this video, I'll be showing you a game between two 1600s only chess. Now, these two made a lot of mistakes that you can learn from, and I guarantee you that this video is going to be very helpful for you, especially if you are intermediate or advanced chess player. The game started with the move e4, and now we see the move e5. Knight to f3, everything is normal, and now we see something that is not really normal, which is f6. The move f6 is a big mistake because right now it's 1.6 plus for white. And the reason for that white can actually, right from the beginning, white can sacrifice the knight for a pawn. Now if black takes, well, white can give a check here on h5, and we cannot block because after this check, black will lose the rook. So he can never block. And if the king moves, which is the only move, king moves, you're gonna see this check, and the king only squares to go here, and then the bishop is gonna get involved, and yeah, it will be a slaughterhouse, and black will be definitely losing this one because too much activity and the king is right in the center, nothing is developed. It is completely losing for black. But of course, white did not see knight takes, pawn takes, and queen here. Did not see that, and he decided to play the move d4, striking at the center. Now, even though white still has an advantage, black now is supposed to play a move like d5, trying to also to put some authority in the center, because if black allowed white to play d5, then white will have a lot of space, and black cannot even get out with the knight, get out with the bishop. It's going to be very problematic for black. He got the knight out even though it can be attacked with a move like d5, so this is clearly shows there is no calculation, like literally he spent it 4 seconds right from the beginning of the game on these moves. 4 seconds. After the move d5, I mean a really reasonable move now you might be thinking of, either going back exactly where he came from or playing knight e7. Knight e7 might be a little bit problematic because many people will actually push a pawn, and when you take, he can take back, he can have control like this, but then the knight, whenever the knight moves, the queen will be attacked. So sometimes people play this move to try to open up the position against the black king, but the king is very safe, so I don't really think white will play like a move like d6. But yeah, this is what black is supposed to do, and he did not obviously play that. He played bishop to b4 check. And this move, I don't know if you see it, but that's a blunder. That's a big blunder. The reason for that, uh, you should not be giving intermezzos like when you're being attacked. When you're being attacked, just move the piece that is being attacked. Most of the time that you're thinking about an intermezzo, it doesn't work. Because of this check, what black thought of, that okay, I want to go back with the knight, but the bishop will be here. So let's say here. He wanted to go back, but then the bishop will be stuck. So he decided to give a check first, so that he thought that white is going to block with the knight, block with the bishop, and then he's going to take the knight or take the bishop, and then go back with this knight, and there is no bishop here that is stuck. This is the only logic behind it, and I don't really know if there's any other logic than that. But black made a huge blunder thinking that white can only block with the knight or with the bishop or with this knight or move the king. White can push the pawn and play c3. Now the bishop is attacked, the knight is attacked, and black is completely losing this game. But of course white did not see that, and both of them are playing super fast. White immediately played bishop to d2, even though he had the move c3, and the two pieces were going to be attacked, and white would be completely winning. But bishop to d2, bishop takes, and his plan actually worked, even though it's a bad plan, but it worked, and white did not play c3, so takes, and now he went back with the knight, and there is no bishop here that is stuck. So hopefully black is happy right now with his plan. And now we see the move c4, taking more control, solidifying the center. Everything is nice for white. You can develop the knight here, get the bishop out, castle, and a great position for white. Now we see the move c6. Clearly, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay, now I'm going to go back here. Okay. Clearly, black is very angry at the center that white has, and he really wants to attack it. But a move like c6 will not help. Why? Because obviously he can push the pawn to d6. So if you have a position like this ever in your games, try to freeze the pawn that you want to attack by playing a move like d6 first, then attack it, so that he is forced to take and then will be, disconnecting the pawns, or then you can take and get out with the queen. But playing the move c6 clearly allows the white to push the pawn because now there's nothing stopping the pawn. That's why he needed to freeze the pawn first and get out with the bishop and then play a move like c6 dealing with this pawn chain. But he got really angry and he pushed the pawn on c6, and now we see the move d6, and now you can clearly see the bishop is dead, the rook is dead, the queen is dead, the knight is dead, everything's dead because of how black played this. Now we see knight to g6, a good move, and now white is not giving a chance for black. Is trying to play a move like h5 to attack the knight one more time and attack it. Now we see the move knight to f4, and this is a huge blunder. I mean, you move the knight here, then you move the knight here. Why are you moving the knight multiple times? So whenever he plays this, you can move it. Now move something else. Play knight to h6 at least. Try to get the knight there. Try to get the knight there to attack the pawn. Then trying to castle. You use the rook to get to the pawn. That's something like that. I mean, he needs to deal with the problems that he have. And he did not even think about anything. He saw the move h4 and he was like, oh, what is going to play h5? Let me move my knight before he plays it. Which is totally a waste of time. You're using the same piece over and over and over again, and none of your pieces are active. So that's a huge mistake, a huge no-no. And now we see the move g3. White is trying to get the bishop out here and also attack the knight. Now we see the move knight to e6. And now g4. White is completely crushing with his kind of gameplay. He's just attacking with everything that he has. And now we see the move. Oh my god, knight to c5. I don't know why he keep on moving the same piece over and over again. He needed to play a move like knight h6. I know it's not perfect. He can push and something like that. But at least he can get the knight out. He can at least castle to get his king safe, something like that, right? But we see knight to c5, even though he can play something like b4 and the knight needs to move again. I'm sorry, this move blunders a pawn. But is there a way to trap the knight? Maybe a move like this, and the knight cannot take here. Well, we see the move knight to c3 here. Maybe defending so that he can play the move b4, and black is forced to go all the way back to e6. Maybe that's the only logic behind it. No, it is not. Now we see the move at g5. It is a smart move, trying to, make your opponent take a pawn so that you can take back and open up for your rook. Really smart move. Of course, black did not take. And if white take, it's actually better for black to actually activate the knight and try to castle. So yeah, white should not be taking here. We see the move b5, trying to do something on this side of the board. Takes, pawn takes, and now at least we have an open file for the rook. So a little bit of activity, even though black messed this one up like a million times, and right from the opening when he played a move like f6. Yeah. Now we see the move b4, which is exactly why he played knight here, to defend the pawn so that he can attack this knight, and the knight needs to move. Now the knight went to a4, trying to get some kind of a trade. Takes, takes. And it's better not to take with a pawn because you really don't want to isolate a pawn. You don't want to isolate your pawns. You want to keep them connected, and you want to take with a rook so that you can maybe use some kind of pressure on that pawn or on that pawn here in the future. So rook takes, and now we see the move bishop to h3. Now bishop to h3, activate the bishop, which maybe tries to castle, even though castling doesn't really do much. The king is safe. He doesn't need to castle right now. Everything seems fine for white. Now we see the move g6. g6 clearly trying to go for something like f5, even though it's a mistake because after pawn takes, bishop takes, black just lost a pawn. But he's trying to do something. He's trying to do something. We see this rook move, which is maybe smart because he's trying to take here, and maybe he would have an active rook, something like that. And now we see h6. All this game, black did not use his queen, did not use the bishop, did not use the knight, did not use the king, and he did not. The king. He did not castle, and all of his pieces are actually dead, right because of the opening that he played, which goes back to f6. And I'm going to tell you exactly how he was supposed to play it, so that you cannot make the same mistake that he made. Now we see the move h6, trying to do something. He clearly hates this pawn, but he cannot do anything about it, so he gave up on this side. So now he's trying, okay, I really hate this pawn chain, so let me attack it. We see this move, okay, and now pawn takes, and now if pawn takes here, he would lose the bishop, even though I don't really think it does matter that much. I mean, he has a lot of, control over the board. But anyway, rook here trying to defend the bishop so that after takes, there will be nothing hanging here. Pawn takes, attack the rook, and now the rook takes here. See, the problem with a move like this, you're opening up for your opponent's rook to attack you, and your king is not castled, and already this pawn is taking this square. So you can see that black is getting, choked right now. So after takes, rook takes, and now we see a move like c5. It's a complete desperation. Like maybe black was thinking after pawn takes, there's going to be some kind of a check, but it still doesn't do much. It's really, really bad position for black. Of course, white did not take, did not allow this check, and also got in with the queen here, so that with the rook, he's attacking this knight. So after a check, it will be checkmate, so he needs to take, and then after queen takes, it is checkmate, because the pawn is controlling the square. So now we see knight here, and this is actually a... he can take here, I guess. He can take the knight. I guess he can take the knight, right? If he takes the knight, the rook cannot take, that's going to be checkmate. But anyways, knight takes pawn. Okay, and now we see the knight moving back here. Very nice. And now rook here attacking this knight one more time, threatening checkmate with the queen. Now, honestly, there's nothing that could be done for black right here. Even if he moved the knight, trying to control that square, there will be this check, and black can now move. He needs to take, and then queen takes, and it will be checkmate. So he still cannot do anything about it. The position is really bad, and he went here, knight there attacking the rook. He took there out of desperation. He doesn't have anything. Knight takes, the knight moved, and after the knight moved here, here we do actually have check here. Sorry about that. Let me fix it. Okay, so here there is this check. The king can now move, he needs to take, and then queen here will be checkmate, but of course that did not happen. He took some time, gave a check, and after a couple of moves, he lost the game, even though he could have taken with the rook. But queen check, and it is checkmate. Now, the main problem, the main reason that he lost this game in this way, this really horrific way, because of the opening phase. So after e4, we see e5, knight to f3, and the move clearly is really bad because of the move f6. f6 is really bad on so many levels. First of all, it takes control of the square that the knight was supposed to be on. It blocks the queen. It doesn't develop any of the pieces that the black has. And it doesn't really control the center. You only have this pawn. And it is a blunder because if the knight takes, pawn takes, I already showed you this, will lead to some kind of a lot of bad stuff, and he will lose his rook. Yeah. So the main problem was f6. Now you might say, well, what was black was supposed to do? Get out with the knight to c6, playing then bishop out. So for example, this white will develop. Bishop out, playing d6, getting the knight out, castling here, getting the bishop out. Just developing his pieces. You should be developing the knight, the bishop, and then opening up for the other bishop, then getting the knight out, then castling. It is the same thing in every single game. Develop the pieces first, castle your king, and then attack. But how black played this was really bad, playing this move f6. Another mistake that he made was here, thinking that he can play in some kind of an intermezzo, playing bishop out here. Now, this move is tunnel visioning, like a tunnel vision. Well, he did not really see the move c3, He did not see the move c3, and even though this move is just a complete disaster for black, the bishop is hanging, the knight is hanging, he did not see that. He only thought that after bishop to b4 is going to be knight here, or bishop here, or knight there, which is bad. You are supposed to calculate all the options. After this check, one of the options is to actually play c3, and he missed it. And after that, after this move here, another mistake here, which is the move c6. Maybe he could have survived if he played a move like d6 first to freeze the pawn from pushing and also opening up for the bishop to play then c6. And if he takes, he can take with the knight, he can take with the pawn, open up for the bishop, get the other knight and castle. So yeah, he was supposed to freeze the pawn, then attack it on the side, but then after another move like c6, clearly telling him, okay, get in d6, and it's really bad. And after that, here, he was supposed to move another knight, try the castle, try to fight from this really bad position, but he moved the same piece again, and then again, and then again. So a lot of mistakes, and hopefully you are paying attention to all of these moves, because learning from others' mistakes is clearly better than doing them yourself, because you'll be wasting a lot of time playing games and making mistakes. So learning from others is really, really good way to stop making mistakes. So don't ever move the same piece a lot of times, especially in the opening phase or after the opening phase. Here, I don't know, like black was afraid of this move h5. He clearly doesn't need to be afraid. The knight can go here. So he needed to move the knight. He needed to try the castle. He needed to deal with his pawn by pushing here, trying to go there, trying to isolate the pawn in some way. But he kept moving the same piece over and over again. And then he clearly, he, I don't know how to say this. I mean, this is very bad. Here, I mean, even yes, I mean, white has a very annoying pawn here on g5, but pushing all these pawns in a desperate way to try to attack it, remove it, it clearly doesn't do much because it is protected by everything by white, and the pieces are not really developed. The king's not castled. So the main issue here, it was the opening phase, and it was missing that there's going to be a move like c3. Hopefully you learned something valuable from this video, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in another video tomorrow.